Good morning. Good morning. Day 3, the Forrest Wood Cup, right here live from the Expo Center in Columbia, South Carolina. This is the Sunday edition of Straight Cast Outdoor Cartoon Television. I'm your host, Pat Renwick. This guy over here, Ryan Popcorn Whitaker.
Hello, how are you doing?
And this dude, my Brosterdamus right over here, he is no stranger to you, America. He is the 2016 Forrest Wood Cup champion. Ladies and gentlemen, John Cox. Yeah. Woo.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on
here.
here.
John Cox.
Man.
That's you, dude.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, man.
Welcome to the mobile edition of Straight Cast Outdoor Cartoon Television.
Yeah, I have to say, this is a little more advanced than the, FaceTime. And,
yeah, than the Skype face
right.
that we do,
right.
On the Skype machine.
Yeah.
We actually get to hang out with you in person.
Right.
Yeah, we actually went chasing squirrels last night.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. No, you did.
Oh, yeah.
You actually went chasing squirrels last night.
Yeah, right.
That's another true story that I just made up. Right now. That's how we do it on Straight Cast. Andrew Ellenberger is here. He's producing the hell out of this thing. JP High, the hip-hop fisherman, not so. And Kyle Pascallo, our marketing guy. He's here, too. It's a big day today, John. It's a big day. I don't know what to say, but I'm really I'm sorry you're not out there.
Yeah, I know. I was, I woke up this morning ready to go, and I was like, wow,
Wait a minute.
I haven't caught anything this week.
and you were my favorite. Look where that got you.
I know, and practice. The lake looks really good. I mean, it looked good. I was getting a lot of bites. I mean, everything looked good, and just didn't work out.
It didn't happen.
Fish knew the weekend was coming.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's probably.
Did you go run up that river? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I did. I ran, as far as I could to try to, get away from that cleaner water. And, I found duckweed. I mean, I found spots that I thought I was on Lake Wheeler in the same spot.
Nice. You were having deja vu.
Oh, yeah. And, even yesterday when I wasn't catching absolutely anything, and even though those areas didn't really seem like they had fish, I was like, I'm going to go back and fish them just because I feel like I'm going to catch something.
Right, because you don't know.
You
don't know what those shallow fish.
Right, and I just think, all week the water was slowly dropping, and a lot of them fish were just, working their way out, and they just weren't setting up right.
Damn.
Dude, his eyes lit up when he said duckweed.
I know.
I love to see
like,
that.
oh, man.
It was like
that was awesome.
gold,
Yeah.
frankincense, myrrh, duckweed. It was. I mean, I love the fact that you fish shallow. That's what we know personally.
Yeah.
Right.
Us here at Straight Cast, we love shallow water fishing. Yeah. And that's why you're our hero, John Cox.
I appreciate that.
whatever that means. Yeah. But I mean, so you're geared up. A lot of these guys chasing the blueback herring. That's kind of the deal. Apparently,
right.
I mean, that's what's going on. Did you ever consider trying anything like that, or is it just not your strength, and you're like, screw this, I'm doing what I know?
Yeah, I questioned it, but my thing is when the tournament rolls around and it's my time and that kind of fishing. That's just when it's going to happen, and I mean, it's just, for me, it's hard to focus on two different things, and,
Sure.
go out and try that. And then,
your brain
and then
wanders.
Right. I mean, because really, I almost ran out of gas every day, and I was just running up the river, and bouncing around.
Gotcha.
So, if I was to run up the river, then run down to the dam, or run down to the dam and run up the river, I mean, I would have had to fill up twice.
That's crazy, too.
And just too much running. But, I wish I would have got in on some of it, but there's no way. That river up there looks so incredible, and there's so many backs to these creeks. Looks so good. There's no way I could be out
on the
in the
drive
open
here,
and casting.
I looked on the Google Maps, as I'm sure you did.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, John Cox over here, John Cox over here, John Cox over here, John Cox over here. I mean, I was like, dude, this is amazing. If those fish are there, he's going to wreck it.
Right.
What was going on up there? Were you catching a lot of short fish, stuff
No,
like that?
I mean, during practice, I had a really good practice,
Yeah.
I mean, I was excited.
Were you wrecking them?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't sleep the night before. And I was just like, man, I mean, I can't wait to get this thing going. And, man, it completely changed, And I mean, that happens. I mean, I'm guessing I caught the tail end of it,
Gotcha.
And I was so I can't even imagine what the beginning of that bite
The water was coming down as you were when you said, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, but the beginning of that bite, last week or whatever it was, I mean, it might have been, it might have been incredible.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But, that's how it goes, these things. Sometimes it lands on a good week, and weather plays in your favor. I mean, for what I like to do, and sometimes it doesn't. I mean,
So you found these fish. Hey, what's up, dude?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing? Hey, do you know John Cox? That's John Cox. Watch out behind you, though. Don't run into those robots right there.
Sticker.
Hey, young
Hey,
man, have a sticker. It's on popcorn.
Yeah.
I mean, not on popcorn, but
That's yours.
figuratively on popcorn. We're blowing his mind right now.
I know.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, we got one fan.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty cool.
That was.
You're running up the river, man. I mean, you're fishing your strengths. You wrecked them starting. What's the deal? Like, what's rigged up? What's on John Cox's deck?
I had a dirty jig swim jig, like I always have tied on. I had chatterbait tied on. Stone a buzzbait a little bit, and flipping. I mean, that was.
What were you flipping?
I was flipping a Bitters muskrat. It's just a beaver-looking style bait.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And I mean,
on fluoro or braid?
I had it mixed up. I had a 20-pound with a half ounce.
Gotcha.
And 20-pound fluorocarbon, and then I also had a 50-pound braid with that same half ounce, because you would go and you would flip trees and get some bites, and all of a sudden you'd come to this perfect grass mat.
Oh yeah.
Like wrapped up in the thing, and you're just like,
we fished some stuff.
yeah,
like
you're
that.
just like, oh, your heart starts, because you see it coming up to it, and you're working
Yeah.
your way to it, and you're like, so then you pick the braid one up and flip it in there, and it just didn't work out.
Have you ever heard Rick Clunn talk about flipper's vision versus caster's vision? No. Seriously, this is true.
Right.
I know I'm a nut, but
Right.
this is, and so is Rick Clunn, but this is the truth.
Right.
So, flipper's vision is basically as you're going down the bank.
Right.
You got this. You got the blinders
Right.
on completely.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah,
Right.
it's basically tunnel vision. So you're focused at the task at hand.
Right.
Okay, and that's the target that you're
Right.
concentrating on flipping at
Right.
that time. There is, of course, some peripheral that expands out of the flipper's vision,
Right.
and those mats are the peripheral.
Right, right.
Okay, and caster's vision is basically the eyes in the back of your
Right.
head.
Where I'm going to make that next
Yeah,
cast.
where you're going to make your next cast.
Right.
And Clunn, even though Clunn's not a flipper, he described, and I'm giving you a little bass history right now.
Right.
No, So
I'm learning something
So
here.
Clunn taught this to Gary Klein,
Right.
and Gary Klein simply flipper vision.
Right.
When he's on the flip stick, thump,
Right.
thump, not worrying about nothing that's next.
Right.
He worries about it when he gets up to it.
I think that's what I do.
I can tell.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up.
Right.
I mean, totally. Yeah, we read your file, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we know all about it. Did you have the IOB tied on? The same
I
one
did,
from
and
last-
I threw, during practice I had 3 bites on it, but they were big ones.
Okay.
Grown ones, and I pulled it away from them, and I just thought maybe that bite was going to happen more. I mean, the duckweed was there. I mean, it was just everything
right.
was
Got hot,
perfect.
too.
It was like,
Oh,
wow.
I know.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like if I had to go out tomorrow, not really knowing anything about the herring, I'd go right back up there and throw in it. I mean, it was the prettiest stuff you've ever seen.
Now, is the IOB, is that your deal? Is that the frog? It's just,
I like it. I mean, I like the hookup ratio with it. It's not a mat frog, but
Not quite heavy enough.
Yeah, it's not good for like mat stuff, but open water stuff, isolated wood, duckweed. I really like it for that.
that's the deal. What frog are you throwing in on the mats?
River to Sea makes this one that's almost an ounce.
Okay.
It's like 7/8 or something.
Are you clocking them back home on that?
Yeah. Now that one, when you get bit on that one, it's like a 5+ pounder. I mean,
Nice.
it is a good one.
It's a big fatty magoo.
Oh
It just
yeah,
wallows.
it's thick, it's heavy, and I mean when you pop it, it doesn't even really walk. When it goes, it just smacks the mat, going all the way.
And
that's
how do you fish a frog in a mat? Are you just reeling it in, or do you twitch
No,
it a bit?
I'm when I throw that real heavy frog, I'm wide open as fast as I can reel, and pop it as hard as I can, and as fast as I can turn my loose handle.
You're cooking it.
Oh yeah,
You're
as fast
cooking
as you
it.
can, and then they just come out of nowhere. I mean, it's the best bite ever. And that bite actually is fixing to go on here next month and a half, and it's going to be incredible.
Up by you?
Down by my house,
Up
yeah.
down by you,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So if you guys want to make a trip,
Yeah.
Dude, we're in
Now's the
Invite
time.
Market,
Yeah.
America. We'll be fishing with John Cox in about a month.
yeah,
We're down there.
yeah.
The whole thing about this derby is anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
When did you really start to get into the Forrest Wood Cup mode?
Yeah, pretty much right after the Potomac. I really, when I look at this place on the map, I'm like, there's 50 backs of the creeks that have little creeks in them.
Okay.
You know, and I'm just like, this is a perfect tournament. You know, the weights are going to be tough. Thought the weights were going to be tough, you know, but they end up killing them. But,
Lo and behold.
But you know, it just looked like something that would really fall into place. And I came over early, which I said I would never do again. And I just drove around, but I didn't fish. You know, I just looked.
That's hard.
Yeah, and I just thought, like, all these areas, you know, I was so excited about this thing, you know, and it's just a lot of those areas didn't have any fish in them. I mean, they weren't there yet.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I gotta get some insight from you on what these guys are going through today. These guys, you know, in the top 3 that have a chance to win. I mean, obviously you won last year.
Right.
Is that last day? Is that the most mentally challenged you've been?
Yeah, it's, you know, the difference between.
But is that the most challenged
You were
been
a wreck
on
last year.
fishing
Well,
day?
last day.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, last year we did 4 days.
Right.
You know, 3 days. It's a 3-day tournament. I mean, it is good, but on a 4-day tournament, on that 4th day, I mean, you're mentally gone.
You spent.
Right.
Oh, you're done. I remember trying to work that frog, and I was trying to twitch my wrist and make it walk, and it was just slapping the water. You know, I couldn't even work it. You know, and then it's like, gosh, I can't even. You know, and so and just everything, knowing that this is the final day. You know, someone's going to win this thing. I mean, you know, I was watching Justin Atkins, you know, try to change the treble hooks out on his topwater, you know, on the live feed. Oh man, and he was like, he had to like set again, and he had to grab the hook back up. And, I mean, you know. But I mean, it's exciting. You know, it's gonna be exciting weighing.
Man, and think about this. We just had Jordan Lee win the Bassmaster Classic, and now there's really 2 young guys in contention.
Right.
Man, what the hell's going on in bass fishing?
That's just how it goes. I mean, sometimes it just, you know, you have your years like that. It's crazy.
It's because of the internet.
That's what it is.
It's because of the damn internet.
Damn internet.
Well, thank God for the internet, or we wouldn't make a living. You know what I'm saying? You got a pretty big event coming up here in the near distant future, and I know that it might not be there 100%, but you're stoked about it, dude. I mean, you got this Bassmaster Classic.
Oh yeah, I mean it. Dude, I can't even, like, I still don't believe that I'm gonna get to go fish that tournament.
Dude, it's a dream come true.
Right, and I mean, no matter what happens, I mean, it's. You know, to go to, you know, that's a place I go to, and I enjoy that week. You know, I enjoy the practice, I enjoy the tournament. You know, and that's, you know, I think that's why it, you know, why it normally goes well there. You know, so I don't know.
And this event in the Bassmaster Classic, by far, the mega
Right.
events of the bass fishing world.
Right.
Dude, I know that when this thing comes up, and just the fact that. As we talked about it when you were on the Stray Cast show, it's kind of fallen into where you won that derby there before.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same week, and you know, I mean, and you know, that tournament we did have a really good warming trend, but you know, the year before we went there, we had a super bad cold front, you know, and I, you know, I zeroed day 3 and finished 5th, you know, so it's.
Right.
You know, it's exciting. I'm just ready to go back. I love that place, you know, and it's a really good pond.
Heck yeah, dude. Hey, we're doing this thing on the Bookface Live, and there's some questions for you from your fans. JP, hi. What's going on for Johnny Cox?
What's going on? If you had to have 2 dirty jigs tied on, what would they be and what color?
So I would probably. I always have a 1/2 ounce Alabama brim swim jig.
Yeah.
Alabama brim.
And you know, because I mean, the good thing with that one and the weight of that one, you can swim it fast. Because it's 1/2 ounce, but then also you come up to a piece of wood or you come up to something, you can flip it in there, and you know, so I really like that's like my number one I have tied on. And then another thing I've been throwing a lot of is just like a small white 1/4 ounce.
Really?
With the finesse hook, and
Okay.
I got it on lighter line. I got it on like 12 or 15 pound fluorocarbon, and you know, and I build you know, I take a crankbait blank, an MHX crankbait blank, and I throw my you know, I throw it on it so that hook doesn't open up and stuff, and that, I mean, that bait catches them.
What's the power blank you're using?
That one, it's that CB928, you know, the big crank. But I cut it down to, you know, 7 foot or whatever. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's
and you're still throwing the finesse jig on it.
Right. Yeah, I'm throwing the finesse jig on it with like 12 pound fluorocarbon, sometimes 15, and you know, I'm just straight retrieving it, almost like you would throw a spinnerbait. And
these 2 cats do that.
What do you like throwing behind it?
I normally I'd put either a speed crawl or, mostly just speed crawl on it. I mean, and sometimes I'll put a swimmer on it, a reaction to it, like Little Dipper. But, I just mix it up with them, though.
Gotcha. What else going on, JP?
We're good. That was it.
Okay. Hey, you want to see my John Cox disguise? Sometimes I go around, like I'll go into like Cracker Barrel or Walmart or something, and I just wear this. And that's,
nice.
That's my John Cox disguise.
If you want a big head there. Damn.
The success is getting to us. If you want to see what we're talking about, go to the Straight Cast Instagram page and check out the John Cox disguise. That is available for $19.99 on straightcast.net.
Does that freak you out at all, John?
Yeah, I did. When I saw that, I was like, damn, that's a big head. And then like I got looking, I'm like, man, I got to get that tooth fixed and that tooth fixed. I'm like, damn.
You got to get a little work done.
Yeah, when I get home, I'm going to the dentist.
With last year's Forrest Wood Cup money.
Right. Yeah, that's going.
John, anything you want to say to your fans or before we get out of here?
Oh, just thanks for watching and thanks for following me. And the Instagram stuff. I mean, everybody's commenting and like the texts and stuff. I really like. When I have a bad day and I'm looking at that and I get a bunch of "you suck" texts. As bad as that sounds, at least I know that everybody's watching and. I appreciate those texts.
Dude, and we always appreciate the support that you show us.
Oh,
Please
man.
know that.
Yeah, I love when you guys have me on. Whenever you guys want, I'll be back.
Awesome, dude. And
Congrats
we'll
on
see
another awesome season.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks,
absolutely.
man.
We'll see you in a couple months.
Yep.
Down at your crib.
Oh, yeah.
You got enough?
That's right.
You got enough bunk beds for all of us?
Yeah, you can stay at my house.
All right.
Yeah, I think we'd all fit.
Awesome.
We're coming.
John,
Yeah.
best of luck to you and safe travels back to Florida,
All right,
man.
thanks, man.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
That is John Cox, FLW Tour Pro 2016, FLW Forrest Wood Cup champion. I'm Pat Remick. Ryan Whitaker. Put the power poles down because we're coming back next with Bass legend David Fritts. Don't you go nowhere. Welcome back. Straight Cast Outdoor Cartoon Television continues right here, right now, from the Forrest Wood Cup. Day 3, the final day, is happening right now. I'm Pat Renwick, Ryan Popcorn Whitaker, and we are pretty excited about this for the first time ever. I'm going to call you a bass fishing legend.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for David Fritts. Yes. All right. Can you look at him going crazy for you? Did you expect that?
I don't know.
You're no stranger to the FLW Tour nor BASS, man. You've been doing this for a little while, haven't you?
I have been a long time.
I'll tell you. And I'm going to talk about a Forrest Wood or an FLW tournament that you fished in that really is embedded in my brain. And I thought it was one of the coolest things ever. When you won that derby on Lake Okeechobee. I think, what was that, like 2000 or something?
Yeah, 2001 or 2, somewhere along in there.
And you were cranking.
Yep.
I mean, there was a couple guys cranking. I think it was you and KVD neck and neck.
We were.
And you were throwing that old wood crankbait.
Yep, the old pose crankbait.
The old pose crankbait and just bouncing it off those dynamite holes or whatever those were out there with those boulders. And not many tournaments are won like that on Okeechobee, quite frankly.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, I was real fortunate. We had a big-time cold front come in. The lake was down, and those fish sort of pull back to where they've got a little bit of access to deeper water. So it sort of played in my hands.
It sure did.
Yeah, it did.
It sure did. I mean, I don't know if you remember this or not, but again, I'm fascinated by that tournament. How did you find the fish? What were you just kind of like, wait, this is what's going on? And were you driving around with the locator? Or what was the deal?
Well, the first 2 days I actually caught all my fish in about 10 feet of water, over 18 feet of water. They were just swimming around, but they had a little place where current was going in and out, and they just was set up there in open water.
Okay.
And it was crazy. I mean, I'd have to throw 5,000 times, but then you'd get a 3 or 4 pounder to bite. And, they wasn't around any rocks or anything. It was just one of those little current spots that the fish were hanging out at. And that's how I actually made the cut. And the last days when I really got down, I had this one place that I knew there were a lot of fish, and I kept seeing boats all over it. And obviously they didn't catch them, because when I pulled up there the last day, I smoked them.
You smoked them?
Yeah,
I remember it, dude. I just remember you setting that glass crankbait rod on your leg and just winding away.
That's right.
Winding when we load up. And I still remember the look on your face. It was like, yep, I'm wrecking them.
Yeah.
I'm wrecking them.
Well, I wasn't sure how many fish were still there. I just knew where the people that I had saw sitting there, I knew they wouldn't set up right to catch the real big ones. And plus they wasn't throwing the crankbait either. They were worming and jigging and stuff. And I knew how to catch them there, and that's what saved grace.
Isn't it crazy that we as bass fishermen and everyone watching out there, we remember just about every fish that we catch, no matter how many we catch and no matter how old we get.
We remember the ones we didn't catch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. And the ones we didn't catch. And I was like, okay, I think when I asked you that question about 2000, I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's going to remember that.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Why is it? Why do we remember all these fish catches? Are we a different breed? Do golfers remember every swing or hole-in-one? Is it the same thing?
Well, I know that I went to a lake that I hadn't been to in a long time, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I still remember my lineups for 20 years ago, what rock and what dock and what tree, and that's what's scary.
Right.
But, you never forget. And without GPS, that's how we used to do it. We used to pull up out there, and you'd have some kind of visual marks, and those things just get embedded in your brain. It's because, you caught a lot of fish there, you caught a big fish there, and especially when you win, you never forget. You never forget.
Right.
We're a crazy breed.
We are.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
we're nuts to go chasing these little green fish around everywhere we do. We do.
We are.
Yeah.
David, you've obviously been to a lot of these things, a lot of these big tournaments like this. This is our first time coming to the Forrest Wood Cup here, but you obviously won a big one back in 1993 too. But I don't know, how has anything like this changed? Is this the biggest you've seen it be, like as far as these conventions and this tournament, the weigh-ins and whatnot? Has it changed over the years, or have they always been big like this?
Well, it has. I won the Forrest Wood Cup in '97. I won the Classic in '93. But, we had it in Greenville, Mississippi, and it's grown tremendously since 1997. I mean, there's a bigger fan base out there, and people are willing to travel. We have an expo that you can come, and everybody likes to come to an expo. You get to see all the new stuff. You can buy stuff at a bargain. Most of the time, you get free hats. I mean, you get free shirts.
See how many
I got
he's
too many hats.
And Ginger.
I think I got a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a good deal, and you can, used to. You never knew what anybody caught until they come in. Now you pretty much know what everybody's got before they even come to the weigh-in. So, things have changed tremendously.
Yeah, there was more of an element of surprise, no doubt about it,
Yeah.
with the advent of the live coverage.
I ignored it all day yesterday because I wanted to be surprised.
I was talking on this thing. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Hey, let's talk crankbait fishing. You cool with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You like a little bit about crankbait.
Yeah, you ever throw a crankbait, David Fritts?
I think that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you are probably one of the pioneers of being an advocate for fishing a glass rod with crankbaits. I myself and some of the other members of the crew here, we love throwing a glass blank for crankbait fishing. And I think when people are not throwing a glass blank, they're just dum-dums, straight up.
Yeah. Well, they're wanting to give half the fish a bite away, I can tell you that. So.
What kind of, where did that come from you? Where were you first schooled? Go way back. When did it become the deal for you?
This is back in the 80s. I mean, when I knew I had to do something, because if I could ever figure out how to catch 8 of those 10 bites, I was probably going to win a lot of tournaments.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And back in the old days, you know, if you had 10 bites and caught 5 of them, you're doing pretty good. But I knew we had to evolve and become better than that. And that's when, back in 1989, when the old Silaflex crankbait rods come out
from
Browning.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the first, even though, you know, everybody made glass rods, but a lot of people didn't use them because graphite was such a big deal back then.
Yeah,
But,
Skyline came out and did that for us.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah.
I'm throwing you back.
Yep, and then other things evolved, like ratios of reels, even though back then the Lew's were 4-3 to 1, 21 inch per turn. Well, today you can buy a Lew's reel that's 21 inches per turn, which is absolutely perfect for a crankbait. And that's a problem that a lot of people have, not only not using a glass rod, but winding a high-speed reel, and you're just going to lose a lot of fish because they can't catch up with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And stretchy line. I mean, there's a lot of things. This thing become an obsession with me.
I can tell.
And believe it or not, between rod, reel, line, and hooks, I actually got it down and figuring out what color the fish wants. That's one of the big keys because they bite the color that they want harder. If you can figure all that out, you can catch 9 out of 10 fish.
Gotcha. Now break it down because you can't just say rod, line.
Yeah.
We have to know, and so does everybody out here. Come
Yeah.
on, tell us what the science is. What's the perfect recipe?
Well, you know, if they could see me, I can demonstrate a rod. If you take a glass rod and you pull it back and you let it loose, and you take a graphite rod and pull it back and let it loose, you'll see it's about 10 times faster.
Correct.
Coming back to center.
Yep.
Right.
So what happens is when a fish sucks that bait in with that glass rod, it doesn't pull it out of his mouth. And that's why it's almost like you can use a spinnerbait with it and never use a trailer hook.
Right.
Because you're not pulling it away from him. And without a doubt, that's the biggest thing. And without a doubt, that's the biggest thing in crankbait fishing or any retrievable bait.
Any moving lure.
Any moving lure, that's right.
And that's because we want to swing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get that bite and not swing. So it's basically fixing you.
You know, back in the old days, glass rods were heavy. They were a little awkward in throwing. They were really, really flimsy. And today, with the new Perfect Crankbait rod from Lew's, it's like, man, this thing's a $79 rod, and it will catch every fish that bites if you do the right thing. You know, if you don't go crazy, you can catch almost everyone that bites. And it's lightweight, it's slow. Even though it's a 92% glass rod, because of the big baits, we had to stiffen it up a little bit in the middle because people have a hard time dealing with something that's really parabolic.
Gotcha.
And it works just as good because we got the slow action. But there again, one of the big things in crankbait fishing, the way you wind, and I like to wind fast.
Okay.
And the 21 IPT reels just is perfect for the way I like to wind. I like to stay busy. I'm not going to just crawl a crankbait. And I'll give you a good example. You think 21 inches per turn.
Okay.
Every time you turn that handle, your bait moves 21 inches. And you say, well, I'm going to use a 6.4, I'm going to use a 6.8, or I'm going to use a 5.8. And it's only 4 inches difference. So they're 26, 28 inches per turn. Well, you sit there and you start counting the time you wind, how many inches that is. It's tremendous.
Sure, it adds up.
It adds up. It's tremendous. And winding the bait too fast is one of the things that I see more people do wrong probably than anything else. And, you know, without throwing far. Throwing long ways is a big important thing with crankbaits. But winding it, people want to wind too fast. The fish will bite it. but they don't get it.
They don't get it all the way.
Right.
They
They
don't get
chunking
it. They can't catch it. They can't catch up with it. You're just winding so fast. You're trying. It's like if you saw a 10-pounder behind your bait and you're winding it, what are you going to do? You going to speed up? No. You're going to say, "Please eat this bait," and you're going to stop it and you're going to slow it up.
So where I get confused though, and not to interrupt you here, but are you pretty much talking about just deep cranking, or are you do your square bills the same thing?
All cranking.
Okay, gotcha.
All cranking. It's a fish can make a hard burst, especially though when you're fishing the bottom and you're hitting the bottom pretty regularly. A fish has to suck that thing off the bottom, or he has to come up to get that bait. And if you're winding it fast, he's not going to get the front hook. He's going to get the back hook, and that's when you start losing fish.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Excellent.
And then, a low stretch line. I've got where I crank actually a lot with braid now because there's no
Really?
stretch.
Wow.
You got to have a braid that you can throw far. That's the whole secret because braid normally doesn't throw as far as mono. Fluorocarbon, it's not crankbait line. Fluorocarbon.
Wow, this is blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, fluorocarbon, you're going to. Actually, I missed winning another FLW Cup because I was experimenting with fluorocarbon in that tournament and I shouldn't have been. And I had a couple fish break my line because it just gets stressed out. It's like when you break fluorocarbon, the more you break it, the easier it breaks.
Yes.
When I'm throwing a crankbait and I'm slinging it, that line is stretching. And the more I throw it, the weaker it gets. And then by lunchtime, I'm actually breaking it when I throw it.
Wow.
So never use fluorocarbon.
So
never.
you're cranking with braid.
Braid or either a very low stretch like Sensation Mono.
Okay,
Something with
Berkeley
real
Sensation.
Yep,
Yep.
real low stretch.
That's even when you're trying to get a bait real deep.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, fluorocarbon's not going to, you're not going to gain any depth with fluorocarbon.
It's
I
a
mean, you
misconception.
think it would because you got to realize you're throwing one, your lure is taking the bait down.
Yeah.
You're winding it to you. They could be 6 inches difference. They're not going to be much.
Right.
But the thing is that fluorocarbon, when it gets stressed, it's going to break. And I've had several people tell me, ask me why these fish keep breaking their line with fluorocarbon. I said, because you're using fluorocarbon.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
What size braid are you using the majority of the time?
I usually use 20, something that's 10-pound diameter.
Gotcha.
10 pounds is about ultimate for throwing a crankbait. Every now and then, if I'm throwing a bad shad or one of the small baits, I'll use 8. You gotta look at it like this. A lot of people don't like to use light line, but if you can imagine your crankbait going back and forth, vibration, and when you've got line running down into it, that line is actually cutting the water.
Yep.
So the lighter the line you can use, the more lively that bait becomes.
Gotcha.
So 10 pounds about the ultimate line for any crankbait, except small ones, and I'll use 8. But stick with a real low stretch line, whether it be braid, and like I say, you're going to have to experiment a little bit and find you some braid that you can throw. It doesn't kick up down. Another thing that happens too, you get real light braid, like 6-pound tests and stuff, it jams up in your spool.
Yeah, it gets buried.
Yep.
in there.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. But and believe me, I've been there and I've done all this. So
You make that
yeah.
I've had that happen.
Yep.
And then
You got a crankbait in your face.
I have to say that I was probably one of the ones, the main one that was responsible for getting all the hooks lined up too, because most of the time when you bought a treble, there was never one that hung straight down. It was always at a slight angle.
Right.
And by straightening that up, you gained another, I don't know, 1/10 of an inch, 2/10 of an inch deeper bite with that hook, because when you angle it and he bites it, he doesn't get it quite as deep as it does when the hook is straight in line. So that was a big asset. I was the inventor of the Sure Set hook, which had the one big hook on it, and that VMC made. And there again, probably if they bit that bait with that hook on it, you would not lose them.
You got that big hook in them.
Got that big.
You
hook
are
in
a
them.
crankbait mad scientist. Do you know that?
Well,
I got to go buy some mono.
I know. And braid to crank with.
That's right. I mean, it's I've made a lot of baits. I helped Pose. We developed the Pose 400 Plus,
Sure.
and then when I was with Rapala, all the DTs are mine.
I know.
And then now with Berkeley, we've got all the dredgers and all the diggers, and by far they are the best. I figured out how to make water push them down. It's absolutely amazing that we can take a small bait and make it run deeper than anything else out there.
So when you're in your laboratory, let's call it, since you are a scientist,
Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. How do you test these Berkeley crankbaits? What's going on? Is it all on the water? Is it in laboratories? What's happening?
Well, to be honest, it's everywhere. But at Spirit Lake, Iowa, and that's where Pure Fishing's factory is. That's where all the trilene lines made, and
Yes,
that's
sir.
where we're developing all the hard baits. They have a 60-foot long tank that's 15 feet deep, which helps. And then we have another tank that they don't like me to talk about.
Uh-oh.
But we can actually make that bait stay still. I can look at it and wind it any speed we want to wind, and I can see all the way around that bait. So,
Really?
yeah, it's
A
pretty.
360 viewing tank.
It's pretty impressive, and I have a chart on my phone, and I can't share this either. I wish I could.
Oh, come on.
I wish I could, but it is amazing.
It's just on the internet. Nobody's going to see this.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how much faster we can make a bait go down than anybody else's. It's phenomenal. And I don't know if you've seen any of the ones. We have a 25-foot crankbait that is a normal size crankbait.
I've seen it. Yeah, I'm with Pure Fishing.
Yeah. I mean, it's and it's all about how water flows over it. Water actually pushes that bait down. It will go down faster than anything out there if it floats. Now, if it sinks, it won't. But if it floats, it will actually hit 15 feet of water, and it's pretty impressive how much ahead of everything else it hits 15 feet of water.
Wow. Well, with all that science involved.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
for real.
you're talking about years of work. I mean, and I made crankbaits all my life and just run across this by accident because, there at Berkeley we have the perfect facility to see what baits do. And once we threw away $50,000 when I saw this. All the baits we had, we trashed them.
Really?
We trashed them. And because we found this thing that, you can wind it easier, and it's smaller, and it goes deeper. And you can imagine taking a bait, and I'm not picking on anybody, but say the size of a 200 Bandit. If you can take a bait that small and make it run 12 feet deep, what's it going to do around fish?
It's going to catch them.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like our big 25-foot crankbait. Most big crankbaits spook fish sometime or another. This is a normal-sized crankbait. It's a 3 1/4-inch crankbait.
It's going 12, 15 foot deep.
Yeah, it's going 25 feet deep.
25 foot deep.
Yeah, 25 feet deep. Actually, our 2 3/4-inch crankbait runs deeper than anybody else's 3-inch crankbait.
Wow.
So
check it out at berkeleyfishing.com.
Yep, that's right.
That's where that is right there. Hey,
But just learning that kind of stuff and knowing what it does, and the way you balance a bait can really determine, how well they bite it and how many of them you catch. And the bottom line is to catch more fish. If you hook a fish with a back hook, you're doing one of two things wrong. You're winding too fast, or you ain't got the right cutter. And cutters some days is the most important thing they are, and some days it don't matter. The cutter will draw fish to your bait.
a lot of us fish, and I want to talk about this color thing. A lot of us fish in areas where there's just not a tremendous population of bass. Throughout the country, there are areas speckled like that. You get to fish in some areas that you have the luxury of this, and it's great, in lakes with huge populations of bass. Sometimes figuring out the right color is more of a difficult task.
Yeah, it's tough.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's, I've been around so long that I pretty much know by what time of the year it is and what the water looks like. I'm within 4 colors of being dead on most of the time. But, another thing most people don't realize is the bottom color is the most important.
The bottom.
The bottom
Right.
is the most important.
I'm totally enthralled with this. Please tell us about it. Give me the 4 colors. Break it down, because I have to know.
Well, you have a top cutter, you got a side cutter, and then you got a bottom cutter, and then you got all the little special stuff on it, the eyes and the dots and the gills and all that stuff, which isn't, most of the time, they're not that important. But most of the time when I catch a bass, if you can make him come up and hit your bait, that's another thing. You're going to catch him. If he has to suck that bait off the bottom, then the hooks are outside his mouth. So you lose a lot of them. So that's why I say the ultimate way to fish a crankbait is when you're throwing it, is it touches the high spots.
Right.
And when they're looking up, what are they seeing? They're not seeing a lot of that top cutter. They're seeing the bottom. They're seeing the bottom. And I have seen so many times when a yellow bottom, a red bottom, an orange bottom, or even just a shad cutter bottom can make all the difference in the world. And that's the first thing I key on is cutters on the bottom. Then I start keying on the shades of it. You know, the back actually makes the sides lighter or darker. And that's what you got to go with. I mean, that's pretty much the cutter in a nutshell. But, you know, everybody has their favorite cutter, and if they would study it, they'd see why it was their favorite cutter.
Gotcha.
And
It's probably the bottom.
yeah, you know, I have a couple. You know, the yellow and brown back has always been one of my favorite cutters. We have one at Berkeley now it's an old 1970s, early 70s cutter that got lost. You don't see it anymore. It's an eggshell.
Yeah.
It's called Honey.
I got you.
And it's called Honey for a reason.
Yep.
Because when you throw it, it's going to be your honey. But it has nothing on the bottom. It is eggshell cutter on the bottom.
Totally eggshell white.
Put it totally eggshell,
Wow.
shad. Yeah.
Wow.
You have given us a crankbait clinic here.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, really.
It's just what I do. You know.
You have expanded America's minds here today. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
I hope you know that. David, thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us here, man. We know you're busy as can be down at the Lou's booth, and we appreciate you coming up here. And please know we're huge fans of you.
All right.
thank
Well,
you
I
very much.
appreciate
Always
that.
have been. Hey,
Thanks, David.
Keep it locked right here. Stray Cast Outdoor Cartoon Television. Put the power poles down. More action from the Forrest Wood Cup continues.